Welcome to episode 46 of our ComfyUI Tutorial Series. Today, I'm showing you how to upscale your AI-generated images. I talked about this in episode 12, but today I have some improvements to avoid the bands or vertical bars that sometimes appear when we upscale with the Flux model. I will show you how I upscale using both Flux and SDXL models. I am using ComfyUI, and if you go to the workflow, you can open a workflow. I've created 8 workflows for different models, including Flux, SDXL, SD version 1.5. These include both image-to-image for simple upscaling and text-to-image plus Upscaler, so you can generate and upscale at the same time. All of them can be downloaded for free from my Discord. Let's start with this simple one that uses an SDXL model. It may look complex, but it will make more sense in a few minutes. I assume you've already watched the first episodes of this series. So you start here, and you have all the instructions you need in this pixaroma note. You need a model that you can download from here, and you need to place it in the checkpoints folder. Just click on it, navigate to your ComfyUI folder, go to models, and place it in the checkpoints folder. The second model is a smaller one for upscaling, which you place in the upscale models folder. Pretty easy so far. I tried to use a minimum of custom nodes, so you only need 3 custom nodes. To install those, go to the manager, and you can install the missing custom nodes from there, or install them manually by going to the custom nodes manager. Search for easy use and install it, then search for RG3 and install that, and finally search for Tiled Diffusion and install it. After that, it will ask you to restart ComfyUI, and you should have everything you need. If you run into any problems, you can post screenshots on Discord, and usually they are easy to fix. I am using the Juggernaut model loaded here in the load checkpoint node. It's a nice SDXL model, and you can find more info about it here. It was just released, and for those with lower VRAM, it works quite well. So what's different compared to previous workflows for upscaling is this node, Tiled Diffusion. I included some information here about what you can change depending on your video card. I tried a few settings, and on my card, these settings worked well and fast. You can use smaller values if it's too much for your card, and reduce the batch size to 1 or 2 if it crashes. We have the positive prompt where you can just use masterpiece, but it helps to add more details about the image. It also accepts a negative prompt. Then we upscale the image using the SciAx model, so it goes to a larger size in the K-sampler. I loaded this cute bunny here using the button. Then I used a scale down to size, just in case you're using an image that's too large. It gets scaled down. If you have low VRAM, you can make it even smaller, so the upscale is not as big but faster. Just use multiples of 64, so it works better. You can also use the operation right here to subtract 64, or you can add 64 a few times, but I prefer this value. So we load the image, make it smaller so the model can handle it, and then we upscale it using the SciAx model. The model is a 4x model, so if we use a value of 1 here, it gets upscaled 4 times. I used 0.5 to upscale it only 2 times. So if the original image is at 1024 pixels, after using this node, the size will be 2048 pixels. It's going pretty big in the K-sampler, but because the denoise is low, it usually can handle it. If not, you can reduce the size here. Now let me drag in a preview image so you can see it. If I run this workflow, the image is enlarged, and you can see the new size here. If I change it to 1 and run the workflow, it gets 4 times the size. That's why I use 0.5 to just double the size. Let's run the workflow. It goes to the K-sampler where the magic happens. For each model, the denoise is different. For this one, a value between 0.2 and 0.4 works fine. Use 0.2 to keep it more similar to your image, and go higher to make it more creative. After that, the image is decoded, and I added a clear VRAM just in case. Then the image is saved. The size that enters the K-sampler is the final size that the image will be generated at. After that, I added a simple upscaler using just the model, no diffusion. It's not as good as the previous step, but it's faster, so you can get a bigger image, which sometimes helps. This is usually my favorite image, the first upscaled one, because it uses diffusion and usually has better results. Here, I can compare before and after by hovering the mouse to the right. When the mouse is on the left, it's the before image, and when I move it to the right, it's the after upscale. As you can see, it added more details. Then, using just a simple CX model to upscale, we simply enlarge the image to get a bigger size, similar to what Photoshop does when you resize an image. I'm not sure if you can see it in the recording, but the first upscaled image is compared with the second one, which is double the size. It's just a larger image that sometimes adds some sharpness, but sometimes it adds too much sharpness if the original image is already too sharp. That's why this workflow saves two images, Upscale 1 for better quality, and Upscale 2 for an even bigger image. But the quality isn't always great. If you have problems running it, try lowering the width and height like 512 pixels and reduce the overlap to 32 with a tile batch of 1. I can run 4 or even 6 in the batch on my card. And of course, as I mentioned before, you can make it smaller from here if your video card can't handle it. So the final upscale will be smaller. But let's say you have enough VRAM. One thing you should be aware of is that the image scale down node only makes the image smaller. It doesn't make it bigger. So let's say I take a screenshot of this small area and pasted it into the load image node. You can see how small it is, but when I run the workflow, the size stays the same. So it only scales down if the image is bigger than 1024px. In cases like this, you might want to replace the node with one that resizes the image, maybe a node like image, resize, or scale image to total pixels. For example, if you choose this one, it will always make the image 1 megapixel. So I can connect the load image node here, then the image output to this node, and also here to the image comparer, and one to preview so we can see the new size. See, before we had this size, and now, after running it, we get this new size. You might wonder why I didn't use this one. It's because models like Flux get better images when I use multiples of 8 or 64, and this one just makes it 1 megapixel and doesn't respect that rule. Let's open a Flux workflow. The workflow is somewhat similar but adapted for the Flux model. Of course, we have more things to install here. We also need the GGUF node installed because for me, the GGUF models do a better job. You can adapt them for your video card since they have different quantization versions. So from the manager, make sure you've installed that node beforehand. If you followed episode 10, you should already have it. For the model, I am using the Flux Dev Q8 GGUF version. You can download it from here and place it in the Diffusion Models folder. If you don't have enough VRAM, you can load smaller models, go with Q4 or smaller until it works. The smaller the model, the faster it is, but there is also a drop in quality. For dual clip, load the same model I used, the Q8 version, and place it in the clip folder. There's a smaller version available for that one as well. You also need the Clip L version and the VAE version. If you can't download them, you need to log in first, accept the agreement, and then you can download them. That model comes here in this node. And of course, use the same upscale model as in the previous workflow. Once you've installed everything and restarted ComfyUI, you're good to go. Up until now, I had that problem with vertical bars when the image generated was too large. But because of this tiled diffusion, we no longer have that issue. It generates images in small sizes, and then they are tiled together. For image scale down, if you don't have enough VRAM and have tried smaller Q models, but it's still too much, you can reduce the size from here. The rest is similar except for the denoise. Compared to SDXL, Flux has a higher denoise limit, at least for this scheduler and samplers. So use these values. Around 0.80 works best for me to keep it similar. I have this portrait of a woman I want to upscale, so let's add a quick prompt for it. The image will now be double the size and go to the K sampler. I used a 0.85 value for denoise, and it will save 2 upscaled images. The first upscale looks like this, and as you can see, it's larger, but also adds some extra details. The second upscale is double the size of the first upscale, but no K sampler was used, so it's just a simple upscale that makes the image larger and adds some sharpness to it. That's fine, but not always do you want extra sharpness. I haven't found a way to make it larger without sharpness or reducing quality, so most of the time I still use the first upscaled image since those are the original pixels, and the second upscale just makes that image larger without improvement. In this case, it was okay, but for other images, the sharpness can be too strong. You can see in the output folder how the images are saved with UP1 and UP2. UP1 is my favorite, has this size, and when I need really big images, UP2 can be okay. You can increase the denoise value if you want more variation and more details compared to the original. The maximum you can try is 0.95, but don't use a value higher than that. So this was before, and this is how it looks after. The face is a little different, but you get some extra details. But inspect the images carefully, since sometimes with a high denoise, it can introduce other elements because of tiling. For example, you might see eyes where they shouldn't be, and the model tries to add them, like you'll see later in the video. But as an upscaler, I'm pretty happy with how it adds details. For AI-generated images, it works quite well, in my opinion. To recap, the loaded image is resized so the AI can handle it, and it's a size with the largest edge at 1024 pixels. Then, using a model, we double the size and send it to the K sampler to do the diffusion process and create a new image. The image comes out of diffusion nice and clear, so it saves the upscale 1 image. And then with a simple upscaler, we save the upscale 2 image. You can compare the original with upscale 1 and upscale 1 with upscale 2. If you still don't understand it, you can ask questions on Discord. Let's open another workflow. This is my favorite upscaler when I need realistic images because sometimes Flux doesn't make them as realistic. But the Fluxmania model, which I presented in episode 41, does a better job at realism. I use this model when I want realism, but it also adds some imperfections. So for clean illustrations, I still use the Flux model since it adds imperfections when I don't want them. It's good to have both models. One thing to mention though, this is an FP8 model, and Mac users seem to be unable to run FP8 models, so you're stuck using FluxDev instead of Fluxmania. Let's add a quick prompt, but make sure to include a descriptive prompt if you want good results. What's different compared to the Flux workflow is that this one uses the Fluxmania model, so you need to download this model instead and place it in the same diffusion models folder. The node is different here as well. We use the load diffusion model node for this model, and the rest can stay the same as in the previous workflow. So this is before and this is after. Here's a problem you might encounter sometimes because of how the tiles are generated. You can end up with an extra eye. What's the solution? You can improve your prompts, generate again to get a different seed, change the tile width and height to 1024p. That takes much longer to generate, or reduce the denoise. In my case, let's try just reducing the denoise to 0.8 so it's more similar to the original. Let's run it again. So that was before, and this is after with lower denoise. As you can see, it fixed the problem and added extra details and more realism. For the second upscale, because my original image was too sharp, I got some extra sharpness, a little too much for my preference. So I prefer this version. Let's test it real quick with a vector style image. After adding a prompt and running the workflow on my RTX 4090, it takes under 2 minutes to do an upscale with this model, and even faster with SDXL or different settings. So it did a good job upscaling this one. Let's try with this home image. I left only masterpiece in the description and was still able to do a decent upscale. The plants and rocks got more texture, and the same goes for the wall and other areas. Look at those leaves in the tree. See how much they improved. So I'm quite happy with this upscaler. I also created some text to image workflows for each model so you can generate and then upscale. Let's open this Fluxmania text to image with Upscaler workflow. Here I added an extra node because when you generate with Flux, using a certain size gives better results. As we talked about before, using multiples of 64 for width and height is ideal. So install that node from the manager. The Flux resolution calculator lets you select the best sizes for running with Flux, so you can just select your ratio. I added a detailed prompt made with ChatGPT, and then on the K sampler, I used a fixed seed. Then, in this yellow group, I added the upscale part. Let's run the workflow. In this node, I suggest using either 0.5 or 1 for the megapixel size, and then you can select the ratio you want from the list. I've added this preview here, so when you run the workflow, you can see what size the generated image will have. I described how I want my image to be. A woman with purple hair looking natural and realistic. Then, using the fixed seed, it will generate an image that looks like this. If you like it, you can continue with the next step. If not, you can use the arrow to change to the next seed or add a random number for the seed and generate again. As long as it's a fixed seed, you need to change something for it to work, like the prompt, the seed, or some other setting in the workflow. And this is the second image. I think I like this one. So let's move on to the next step with upscaling. All you need to do is enable the upscaler from here. I used a fast group mutter, so now the entire yellow group can be enabled from here. I collapsed some of these nodes using the gray dot. They're the same as in the image-to-image workflow, but since the workflow is longer, I collapsed them to save some space. Now, when I run the workflow, it will only do the upscale. It won't try to generate again, so you save time. You generate the image until you like it, and then when you're happy with it, you enable the upscaler and get the final image. This way, you don't wait each time for an upscaled version if you don't like it. You only upscale what you need. I didn't add an image comparer here since it's all generated with AI, and it doesn't really matter if there's a small difference. It saves upscaled image 1, upscaled version 2 in the original with the IMG prefix. So it's easy to find them in the output folder. So what do you think? Does it look good enough? The Fluxmania, as I told you before, adds many imperfections to make it more realistic. If it has too many, you can easily remove some in Photoshop. If I run the workflow again, it will only generate another upscale. It won't start from the beginning because the seed is fixed, so it continues from there. And here's another version. Really nice results. For those who don't have a new video card, you can try this workflow. I used a Stable Diffusion version 1.5 for this one, which is a really old model but is very small. Of course, you need the load checkpoint node here, and you can download the model from here and place it in the checkpoints folder. This model can only do smaller sizes, so I reduced the megapixel size to 0.5 to get an image at the size of 704 pixels. It generated this image for me. Now I can enable the upscaler and run the workflow. I forgot to change some settings here, so if it crashes with these settings, use 512 pixels for width and height, 32 for tile overlap, and 1 for batch size. You can gradually increase the batch size and image size until it still works and is fast enough. This one has a really low denoise compared to the others, and it upscaled the image to this size, which is a decent size. It's not a bad result for such a small model. This is the upscaled version 2, so if you can't run Flux or SDXL, you can use this version. I don't have a PC with low VRAM, so I can't test it myself, but let me know if it works for you. So what if you don't have a good video card and still want to use this workflow? I added this workflow on the RunningHub site. You can get a few credits for free, and the paid options are not that expensive. I'll add a link to this workflow in the video description and on Discord. Once you're logged in, just click on Launch on Cloud and wait for it to load. I tried to make it easy for you. For step 1, you load the image by clicking on the Upload button. Let's say I load this landscape image. It's an old AI image I generated with the SDXL model, and you can see it has a lot of imperfections. Then we add the prompt. Since this is the Flux model, you can be really detailed with your prompt. For step 3, I suggest these values. Usually 0.8 or 0.85 are the values I use most of the time. After that, you just click the Run button. You'll see on the right that it's generating and there's a timer. You can cancel at any time using the Cancel button. The first time you run this, it will be slower because it's loading the model. So let's see how long it will take. After 3 minutes, we got our first upscale. The second upscale image seems to take longer than on my PC. They use the same RTX 4090 video card like me, but I just have a fast SSD and a lot of extra RAM. So this was before, and this is how it looks after. You can see it added a lot of extra details, and it improved the flowers, the tree, and the bricks on the house. It's quite useful. It just finished the second upscale with a total time of 4 minutes and 46 seconds. You can download both versions now using the download button. But compared with the original version, I think it's worth the wait to get a better image because of all those extra details. It might not always be perfect, but it's definitely better than the original. Let's test with another image to see how it works and the time. Let's use this 3D character. It already looks okay, so we just need a bigger size. I'm adding a quick prompt for it, and then I just click run. In under 2 minutes, I get the first upscale, which looks like this. The upscale seems okay. I like how it added that extra texture and fur on the bunny ears. That's pretty cool. At 3 minutes and 41 seconds, it finished the second upscale compared to the first generation when it loaded the model. It was 1 minute faster to generate. And of course, we got this big image that looks good. If you only want the first upscale, you can delete these nodes, the second image comparer with the upscaled version number 2 and the last 2 yellow nodes. Now it will only upscale once. Let's test it really quick with this portrait of the woman. I'll add a quick prompt here and then run it. It took under 2 minutes to generate, and we got this upscaled image. Keep in mind, if the image is blurry, you can't improve it too much. Maybe you can increase the denoise and get it more different, but if the AI-generated image is not blurry and is clear, it should get a good upscale. If you found something useful, leave a like and a comment to help me create more videos for you. Hope you like this Upscaler. Thank you to everyone who subscribed to the membership, and a special thank you to the legends who offer the most support. Have a great day, and I'll see you on Discord.